President Pro Temp becomes the presiding official. Therefore, as President of Council, I'll be acting on behalf of Mayor Howard this evening. So, Mr. Seifert, if you go have the roll call, please.
Okay. Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Fogel?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Here.
Mr. Babcock?
Here.
Okay. We do have enough members for council to be present to satisfy a quorum and call the meeting to order. If you all join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do we have any amendments or any additions to the agenda for this evening? Seeing none. And the minutes of the last meeting, if you've had a chance to look them over, and if so, if somebody would propose a motion to approve.
I move we dispense with the reading and approve as presented.
I will second.
And if you'll call the roll, Mr. Seifert?
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Fogel?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Okay. And we'll move on for the financial report. You'd like to look it over, and if there's any questions or concerns?
Now that it's a big, did you know what we're paying the First National Bank of Omaha for? What those bills are?
That'd be credit cards.
Oh, is that the credit cards?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
And if at the point we have no other questions or concerns, if we could move on the bank reconciliation.
Move to accept the financial reports as they are.
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Fogel?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. We have no presentations this evening. On a real quick note on communications, there was a social media post by one of our citizens, Mandy Davis, who was indicating she was taking her child for walks in the stroller, that she was continuing to pick up trash along the streets, and was recommending or encouraging other people to go ahead and doing that. And I think it's great that our citizens, and especially our younger citizens, are taking pride in the village and taking such initiative to try to make it a better community. So we've asked Ms. Tomey to place something on the village social media page or the Facebook page to acknowledge the fact that people are doing this. And we've also had an offer from Clark County Solid Waste that if necessary, or if we have enough participation, that they may be able to provide plastic bins or gloves or some type of barriers for people who might be so inclined to do that. So if this is a way to take a step forward early this year to beautify Enon, then more power to everybody, and we appreciate that. Again, the initiative on Ms. Davis's part. So thank you on behalf of the village.
Yeah, thank you. And on top of that, maybe let's try to spread the word not to litter, or when you drop trash, pick it up, pick up your own trash.
Right.
Historically, where I used to live on Main Street, or on Enon Drive, you tend to get a lot of that, and especially during the winter, it turned into a regular deal where you're picking up other people's trash, and it's where we live, and the better we make it look, the better it is for all of us. So once again, thanks, and I appreciate it. The other comments. Okay, for staff reports, Mr. Seifert, for the administrative side.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hanna, council, residents. First item on my report there, on Monday, the 1st, we had a meeting, Dave, Mr. Babcock, the mayor, Jason, John Burr, and Paul DeBooty from TCC. We had a meeting to discuss the South Xenia Street resurfacing project. And it looks like that, correct me if I'm wrong, or add what you would like, but it looks like that project is going to be done if we can get, they're willing to fill out OPWC funds for it. The total amount of the project is, I thought, around $355,000. And our share, if we would get to OPWC funds, would be right around $60,000 to $70,000. So that was quite a blessing, I should say. I don't know, that, compared to what we thought we were going to have to pay. But they're willing to do all the paperwork and all that kind of stuff for us. But
The OWC paperwork is a grant,
Yes.
but they're willing to do all the work in applying for the grant. Their opinion is that there's a strong possibility we will get that grant because of the facts around the case and things like that. So assuming all that stuff takes place, then, like Kevin said, our portion is minuscule
Now you-
compared to the whole
the
project and
whole-
what it could cost the village.
Yeah.
And I think it's great that it's going to be only in that $60,000 range.
Yeah.
So that's a good sign.
What portion of South Xenia did that cover? Sorry.
From up here to Main Street intersection down to Green Vista.
Green Vista,
Yeah.
Okay.
because that's where, from Green Vista down to Hunter Road, Jeremy, that's what the school project's going to do.
Right.
It was supposed to go all the way up there, but then because of funds and other things, and the fact that the sewage and the water down in is costing the project more, then they had to cut someplace else, and where they cut was from Green Vista to Dayton Springfield. So they're willing to do the paperwork. They've done the event analysis. They've done the research. They determined how much the cost was going to be. They figured out that they could apply for a grant. They're fairly assured that we would get that grant. And then, but of course, our portion of that
Sure.
is $60,000. And I'm going,
Yeah. Absolutely.
that's great.
Do you know if it'll be done at the same time and coordinated with?
As a matter of fact, it could even be done ahead of time.
Yeah.
Ahead of time, great.
If, because the school project isn't until '23, but if the grant comes in and then we are willing to, we have our $60,000 that we can pony up to that, and the county has their, whatever portion theirs is on top of the grant, then it can actually be done beforehand. We don't have to wait until the school project's done.
That's another reason why I think we try to keep money back on our streets and sidewalks for the past couple of years of anticipation that this was going to be coming up. And,
Right.
And the more proactive we can be as far as to try to get that finally finished, then eventually we know the south side is going to have to be done down to Hunter Road, which is, going to be a massive project in itself,
yeah, it's a
especially with
massive
the
project.
drainage and the right-of-way situations that will be following. So that's good news off of that.
So yeah, that meeting I think was real good news for us.
Absolutely. I agree, Kevin.
Good, looking positive for that. So we'll keep you informed on it as we get information on that too. So item number 2, the water tower, the water tower company there, Cardinal Tower Rehab is starting to prep the tank for paint inside and out. We started draining the water out of it this week. So they can, once it's drained and empty, they can get it back in and fix those few spots that last fall, last winter that showed up after they did their electric test or electrolysis test. So that's moving forward as we speak right now. So the Bob White culvert replacement, the bids came in. The engineer still has them, going through the bids, making sure all the I's are crossed, T's are crossed, I's are dotted, checking the figures, things like that. I'm in the process of just finishing up reference checks on the top two or three, and so I'm waiting on a few phone calls from each of those. So I should have that wrapped up probably by the end of this week. Get everything put together for maybe bid award at the next council meeting. Okay. So, item number 4, your mayor's court report in front of you in your packet. Cases this month, we had 9 traffic cases. Total funds received this month was $22,250. Year to date, $4,225. Total remitted to the state, $300. Year to date, $516.50. And total remitted to the village, $1,938. Year to date, $3,689. Total dispersed, $2,250, and year to date, $4,225. So
And,
I'll move that we accept the mayor's court report.
I'll second.
and you call the roll.
Mr. Hannah,
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker,
Yes.
Mrs. Fogel,
Yes.
Mr. Bear,
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet,
Yes.
Mr. Babcock.
Yes.
Also, I just would like to bring to your attention, it's not in your packet, the Clark County Solid Waste District. Few of their spring programs are getting lined up here. The spring roadway litter cleanup, the Great American Cleanup is March 20th through June 20th. Community cleanup trailer is available. Specialty recycling at the recycling center. They got their hours. It's Thursdays, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And the first Saturday of each month, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. So we can stick this online on our website so people know what's going on and what times, what they can bring, and to those specialty cleanup things. So, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention. That's starting again this year. And last, I'd like to set up a parks, or have you set up a parks and beautifications meeting. It'd be Jeremy, Ben, and Rick to discuss projects for the Nature's Work grant. That deadline's coming up on June 1st. So I think we need to kind of discuss what we'd like to kind of apply for. I've got some ideas, and I'll kind of discuss that at that meeting. But yeah, we need to kind of get going on that, so whatever we decide on, I can start getting prices, things like that for the grant. So other than that, Mr. Hannah, that's all I have for now.
We appreciate what you guys continue doing on the admin side. These are some major projects that we're all kind of juggle at one time right now. So, we appreciate all the work by all of our folks, and especially here lately. Hopefully the snow situation is beside us, and we can start
Yeah.
breaking out for spring work. So, again, my thoughts, thanks for the employees down the line. So, one thing that did strike me, when we're talking about the Parks and Recreation beautification, we probably need to start looking at maybe some more ADA compliant facilities or possibilities that we could offer some of the communities. I know we're been running a little bit behind on that in some areas, and that might be a good goal. But do you want to go ahead and set up a meeting now to so we got that under control?
Whatever you guys.
I mean,
June 1st.
Yeah,
I
would
have
say
to have the application.
The quicker we can do it, the better. We don't want to run up against that deadline. We did that last year. I
Right.
did that last year. It didn't work out. So, and I think we kept some money behind last year and appropriated again this year for that purpose. So,
Yes, we did.
Yes.
I mean, whenever you guys are available, I think I'm pretty open this month.
Yeah,
on
I should be
evenings.
too. So basically, whatever everybody's convenience, just want to,
So the next meeting's the 23rd. Do you want to have one the 16th that night? Or do you want to do one before the meeting on the 23rd?
what, that,
I think is it me and you and Ben?
Yeah.
Right.
you want to do it ahead of the next meeting?
That
Like
works
6
for me.
o'clock?
Yeah.
Let's
That's
do
fine.
that.
Before the next meeting at 6,
Yeah.
we can get things started, and I'll have some information we can look at,
Right.
and just, if none of that works, then we'll just discuss some ideas,
Right.
get it going. Okay. So the 23rd, March 23rd at 6.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All righty, taken care of.
I had a follow-up for Kevin from last meeting. Did you get a chance to talk to Spectrum about the whole switching the phone lines
Yes, and we're ready to go. I know that I talked to Mike about upping our internet speed, and they can do that at no cost. We'll be paying the same price we are for the internet, so I just got to let her know that we're ready to go. So
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. Chief Holler.
Evening, Mr. Hanna, council, residents. Number one item, I just want to give a staffing update. We have our part-time officers. We have one currently, has accepted a conditional officer, another agency that is able to offer a few more hours. They haven't left yet. They don't have a start date, but he's going to stay here and work through with Officer Godwin. So short of that going backwards on him, he'll be leaving us soon. He's done a fantastic job, and I'm sure he'll do a fantastic job there. So I have our part-time applicant. He has completed everything yesterday. I'm waiting on his drug physical test. It was taken yesterday. That's his final step. So I'm going to get with the mayor and get him sworn in soon. And then maybe, I know one of our full-time officers, he got promoted, we want to bring and do the swearing-ins in front of council once, COVID restrictions allow. Just keep you posted on that. Also, other part-time officer that I had in the runnings, he has contacted me recently. He originally believed he was going to get a full-time officer from a larger agency. You can't, obviously, you can't turn down a full-time job for a part-time job. That information was kind of, I think, not necessarily directly relayed to him by the actual agency, but maybe misunderstanding. Anyways, because of that, there's several people that were applying for it. He was not one of the ones that was actually selected, which, so he's asked to come back into where he left off, and agreed to do that, which is helpful because he was kind of at the end, right before we were about ready to spend some real money on him to, do the other. But anyway, so that helps. So maybe that'll add to it. And then I've did an interview last week, but applications are thin. There's a lot of competition out there, but we are still trying to, add more officers to our fleet. My second line of communication is I got a police notification for the Ohio Division of Liquor that the Last Queen LLC did apply for their liquor control permit, and it just basically is bringing it to my attention, asked me if I have any concerns or anything like that. As far as the police department goes, we do not have any concerns, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention. We did receive that.
Who is that for?
The Last Queen LLC, their DBA Last Queen, 210 East Main Street, would be the old J&L ice cream shop. So I believe they have a liquor permit, they'll have some food, so can't wait to eat there once it comes. Third item, I received a lot of calls recently about the spoofing. And spoofing is when you get a phone call from us with a number identifying as such, and it's really not them. For example, the Enon Police Department's phone number has been spoofed because luckily some people have called us. This is a technology that you can get apps and such. Yeah, it's not a whole lot we can do about people spoofing our numbers. However, we ask the citizens continue to report it to us, provide us with the time. We'll pass it on. What I wanted to talk about that is obviously like any other scams, is the callers are asking for personal information and things like that. Again, I want to remind the public, anytime they receive a call, even if it says the Enon Police Department, and if you not recognize the voice, you're asked for personal identifiers and any call that you actually received. A practice I know in law enforcement we've done for a long time, even if it's a officer, somebody identifying themselves as an officer from another agency, we will politely tell them that we will call them back at their office, and we will look the number up, what I like to call my hard file, right? It used to be an old phone book. Now I guess it's a Google search bar. But either way, you find the number on your own. Don't take it from the person calling, but find the number on your own. Call back and ask to speak with that representative that was speaking with you. That way you know you're talking to somebody from that company. Again, this is, I get personally probably anywhere from 3 to 6 a day. Today they took a break. I only got one, so I'm happy. But I was supposed to work with our library and do a presentation in-house prior to COVID. That got backburnered. I was asked to do a video training in sections. I had not done that. I've never done it before. I was wanting to entertain it, but in the same token, I never got it completed. My apologies to the public for that, but that to me was harder than going out and speaking as a group. But anyways, that's still, I want to move forward to that once we get the opportunity to do that, just to kind of educate the community a little bit and just help hopefully prevent any victims to these crimes. And I've also received, wow, this is the highest number. We're getting a lot of mailers for the unemployment scams and people opening up credit cards, miscellaneous accounts, online accounts. And when these people were out here stealing the identity or your information to enter these accounts, for example, if you open up a bank account, that generates the bank to produce documents and send it to the actual residence. And that's what's happening. People are receiving this, and then they're calling to report it to the police. I'm asking, and as law enforcement, we want the information so we can track that and turn that into locally and federally. So if we're the jurisdiction, give us a call, save the mailers, don't throw them away. And also you'll need that for the Job and Family Services claims and stuff to help protect your credit. But I think we've had, 1, 2, 3, I have maybe 3 or 4 this week roughly. And then I know they're coming in weekly. So I just want to let the community know we're aware of it, and we'll do the best we can to document it and get everybody squared away. But it's just I think it's going to get worse because it progressively gets worse. There is a do not call number that you can get off. I believe the Attorney General's website has it on there. Personally, I've put my number on there. It doesn't seem to work as well. But all I can say is if you don't want to talk to them, hang up the phone. But if anybody had any questions or want to report any of that, obviously give us a call, and we'll be more than happy to take the report and help you with anything else along the way. Other than that, I believe I've covered just about everything, so that's all I have.
Any update on the new cruiser?
It is ordered, and the bank just sent me an email late today requesting a few numbers. But again, we've got all that. She just needed some. I've got to send it over to Laura. It'd be something Laura can give out, but they will not give me a delivery date because they don't know.
Okay.
So at least they're honest. First car salesman, being honest is a great thing. No, he said, I'm not going to give you a date because if I did, I would just be making it up. And I said, thank you for your honesty. I appreciate that. Hopefully we'll get it sometime this year.
And then going back to your spoofing situation, I think one day last week, I think I got 8 calls from the Enon area that were from one scam to the other. Either my internet was compromised or my Social Security number was going to be suspended. And as somebody that will be having 30 years tomorrow, Social Security does not suspend your Social Security number. And if you have concerns about that, on the SSA.gov website, there is a reference for the OIG to report such scams. Unfortunately, their technology seems to beat ours on many of the tracking devices. So, for what it's worth. But thank you, Chief. Any other questions for the Chief?
None?
And at this time, we have committee reports. And Mrs. Sweet, we're looking at the public service pay scale discussion and your committee, and thought we would bring this, and I'll turn it over to you, please.
Thank you, Mr. Hanna. Our committee did meet last Tuesday, and the minutes are before you, so I suppose we should probably dispense with that part first. In my committee, looking over the minutes to approve those and go from there. So I'll let you do that first, please. My two committee members.
I'll move to accept the committee report as presented.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Aye. Okay, the committee has approved the minutes.
Appears unanimous.
Unanimously, all three of us. We did come to the conclusion that we needed to put the information that we have so far and decision-making off for a bit because we wanted input from council. We have a few questions that we'd like to have you think about, maybe even discuss this evening, or think about. Obviously, we can't make any decisions this evening just because it's an ongoing process to get this all put together. We were discussing wages, step increases. How are we going to increase a pay scale? What would the qualifications be? When are the wage ranges? Appraisals for each person as they're having their appraisals done, when the appraisals are done for their job description. Do they use the same cycles? Is there a ladder strategy? There's several questions. Another one, big if if everyone got to the top of their pay scale, could we afford the wages? So we actually have to talk to our financial advisor, or Laura, and see where the money is for all of that. Do we do bonuses? Which and for what, over and above job description, for extra training, in lieu of a raise in some cases? And who makes those decisions, the supervisor, the mayor, or the council? And what are the amounts going to be? So personally, at this point in time, there's a couple of things that Brenda would like to see, and that would be, where did I write it down? I just covered it up. What is each job description, because we have that list here, what is each person making currently, so we know what the increments of raise needs to be. And then, of course, because we already have the top, so we know what they're starting, those that have started or are starting, what they're starting at, and then the ones that have been here for a while, where are they, and then how far before they get to the top pay scale. Another thing that we thought of, Jeremy, do you want to jump in with any of that? Just feel free, YouTube in. One thing was, I was thinking too, because the two supervisors, Chief Holler and Mr. Seifert, in the administration side, you know what your people are doing, you know what the qualifications are. So if you were to come up with what you think would be fair increment jumping would be, that, and then put that together and then bring that to the committee, that would be very helpful to us.
And I mean, not even just the increments. I mean, I think a fair wage, so starting and top out, for each of our different positions. I know we have data from, other municipalities, and I've been looking at that. The hardest thing for me is telling, and I mean, I'm not sure that you guys will be able to do it either, but I think you might have an easier task ahead than maybe me trying to decipher what the different positions are, as far as comparing them to the other municipalities. So the biggest thing to me is having a range, and it really doesn't have to include what our people are currently making. I mean, it really needs to be what the village determines each of these positions is worth, and what we can afford. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I know we recently just did ours. When I say recent, I guess it was 5 years ago. The only real concern that I have with our current wages, obviously everybody wants to make a ton of money, is our starting pay for our we usually hire, I mean, part-time is what we hire the most of, and I just, again, I like to go over numbers, but I'd like to see them start out a little higher. I know that the initial training part is very costly to us as an agency because, we're literally just walking somebody for weeks, months, showing them how to do something. And I say, look at it as business. They're not really, producing. They're not working on the production line yet, I guess. But in the same token, we're molding them to perform our service, and that's what it takes. But in the same token, they're walking out there, putting their life on the line, and we're paying them very minimum. Now, I started out at entry level, very low dollar amount, but that was way back in the day when there was one opening at an agency and 400 applicants. But the current situation is there's 400 agencies, with 800 openings and 500 applicants, and there was generic numbers, but I mean, it is a very populated, and not a lot of people are applying. But that's the only thing that I see. Our part-timers start out at $12 an hour, if you want to know. That's what their entry level is, and 6 months later they would get a dollar increment after their probation, of course, which would take them to $13. I know there was discussion on the federal level from parties that they were talking about raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, which I think it's like 9 something now. But this is a professional choice that I know they invested a lot of their time in. They paid for the education. We don't do reimbursement of education or anything like that. The academy is very expensively, and it's very expensive. Not only that, it's very time consuming. It's 5.5 months. I won't drag you out, but you get the point. And I know education in itself is expensive on any field, but it is definitely a qualified position where they have to have an education. And I would love to get rid of the word stepping stone one day. I think Enon is, in my opinion, we have passed that a little bit. I don't mind being a little bit of a stepping stone into a career, but I don't think we have to be a stepping stone, period. So, but other than that, I will do what you ask, and we'll get that to you as soon as I can. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of where Mrs. Sweet's going with it, though.
Mm-hmm.
If you can come up with a proposal comparing other departments' starting pay, same size, same, amount of people.
Yes.
I think that'd be a great jumping
I just think
off
it would be
for us.
important for us to become competitive.
Yeah. We have competitive.
To retain folks.
I agree, and we'll have that by next meeting. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Well, to be perfectly candid, too, the previous chief had ideas about not paying people when they were in training until we got them trained on the street and no longer riding along with that. That wasn't feasible, so it came to the consensus of, okay, the $12 an hour, I think, is where we ended up off of it. But again, it's commiserate with some people that have no responsibility whatsoever, so I don't think as long as the budget will carry it, I don't think you're going to get any complaints from any of us to put a realistic wage on people, even when they're doing entry levels.
I think we need to have a competitive wage, Chief.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it goes in line with what Jeremy said. It's not about what we're paying them now, but what is the right pay to pay a police officer here in the village of Enon for that period of time. Now, if that wage is going to be budget busting, then I think we need to figure out how do we increase the police budget through either another levy or something like that to do that, where the village chips in more, one of the two. But we have to do something because we have to offer a competitive wage and benefits to any employee of the village. You know, in my opinion, especially the police officers.
I agree, and I appreciate that. And generation, nothing but respect for my former chief, Lou Wilcox. And generation-wise, you know, I know, like I said, 16 years ago when I started this career, I bought the only thing I was given was a badge and an ID. I literally had to buy everything, and that was common practice back then because you kept paying it forward, so to speak, right, to get that training, get that knowledge from that seasoned officer that is hard to pry away, right? You really had to get in there to get that, and it's in any emergency field like that. But in the same token, things have changed, and I know since I've come in here, since the time I started to now, we expect more, we offer more, and our professional standards keep raising. So it only makes sense to at least have some open, and again, I don't want to break the bank, but I agree with you. I will look into that and I will crunch numbers. I absolutely don't want to get us outside of our budget, but I definitely appreciate everybody paying attention to this, and it's noted we all notice it, and we thank you.
And I would submit, Mike, that you need to come up with the numbers like Jeremy talked about.
Yeah.
As we need them. If that busts the budget, then we need to, the council and the citizens of the village need to figure out how do we pay our police officers correctly, and that just needs to get done. I think we need to propose the right thing, and then if that busts the budget, then we need to take another step. If it doesn't, that's another thing. But we need to move ahead. We can't, like you said, be the stepping stone and be the revolving wheel for so many fine officers as they just use this as the training ground, put some experience on their resume, and then move off into another municipality.
In 2018 and 19, we were on the higher side of we had the more experienced officers. Therefore, we were at a higher pay scale. So 18, right? We had some officers that had some years in. They were moved up. Currently, last year we had COVID, and also we had some changes in personnel. We had some lower hourly wage earning employees, plus a very minimum amount of overtime. And I'd like to take, maybe some good budgeting on my part, but I don't know, probably the other. But anyways, so we brought some over. And then this year again, we have we call it green in the law enforcement field. We have a lot of green officers. So really, we probably will spend less. But if we were to go back to, we know we can budget, we know we can do what we did in 18 because we did it. So, but yes, I will definitely punch out every number with all the dollar amounts and get all those total numbers. I already have some, but I'll just start at our lowest, and I'll just get it all.
And if you keep
Thank
a
you,
list
Excel.
of the items that, as you stated in the one meeting, about what would benefit us if someone gets training.
Pardon?
The items, like when someone goes and gets training,
Mm-hmm.
like if you have a list of those as well, because some of them, like you said, if someone goes and gets something that doesn't benefit this department.
Yeah. Definitely a list of the top training that we need. Yes, absolutely. Field training officer, school resource officer, things like that. Yes.
Also, as we keep officers, because we're paying them friendlier prices, friendlier wages, as we keep them, we've got the experience for the new ones coming in to learn from those that are experienced because they're sticking with us.
Yeah. No mistake about it. You've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in me. I mean, in fairness, you truly have. And
Right.
even though a lot of the training I've went to, is federally paid for, you still paid me to go, or however, the bottom line is I went, I brought it back, and we shared it, and we bring officers in. You're right, and it took me. I wish I would have known all this 10 years ago, right? But and it really hurts sometimes when we lose people like we have in the past. And again, it happens, but we've got some really good officers. We have for years. We've had some good folks come in and out of here, and we make good pups. That's just it. Employees, right?
Right.
Period. Honestly, I've taken one from the admin side, and I'm getting ready to take another one, hopefully.
Kevin, do you have anything you wanted to say to?
No,
You're good?
I just wrote down what you guys are
Okay.
requesting, so that's fine. That's
Okay. Anything else?
No, I mean, I think once we get that data, we can have another meeting or, discuss at the next council meeting. But, it's going to keep building from this initial
Right.
stage, which we
Sure.
kind of, had a couple meetings, brainstormed. But, I mean, there's a lot of other things we're going to have to discuss to try to get it right to where we don't have to look at this every year, every 2 years and figure out what we're doing. Hopefully we're going to get something together that is going to pay our employees a fair wage for them as well as the village. And, it's something that can go along for 10 years, hopefully. We don't have to revisit it.
And for the record, he just stated our goal for our committee. Thank you, Mr. Whitaker. I think that's all, Mr. Hannah. Thank you.
So hopefully in essence, we come up with a framework about where we want to have the positions, then and go forward with that. And once we do have the path put before us, then I think we can work on the directions at that point. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
At this point, we have no old business. Do we have any new business? We might go ahead and mention, Jeremy, you might be able to give better background on this, that we believe the township is opening up to the public. We're still functioning as a closed door based off of the COVID situation. So as the governor and the Clark County Board of Health come up with the recommendations, I'm sure we'll respond. But if you can maybe give a little bit of background on what the township has decided.
So the township had a meeting last Monday, I believe it was, and they had mentioned they were going to do some research in their meeting room to see how many people they could get in with social distancing. And their tentative plan is to open up meetings, their first meeting in April. And, I'm not saying right, wrong, or indifferent. I would like to, get back to open meetings. I'd like, a lot of things to be back open, but bottom line is it has to be safe for everybody. It has to go along with the guidelines from the county. So I think we need to look into that and, see how many people we could have.
And for the people that haven't seen the redesigned council chambers, we do have the plexiglass dividers between us to limit the transmission. I'm not wearing the mask tonight because of having to talk so much, but we also have plenty of room for proper social distancing here in the chamber. So I think all of us will be happy to start working under as much as the old manner as possible, but realizing that there's going to be a whole new normal to everything we do here in the future. So,
And we did discuss this with the TCC as well, because, those meetings can be open. And
lot
the
of people.
TCC is still working under the governor's, decision that meetings for government agencies and municipalities or organizations are allowed to remain this way, meaning closed to the public. You can video and advertise, but otherwise closed to the public until June.
and we're fortunate that our CARES Act was able to do the audio and video system
Right.
here. So once again, kudos to the staff to make actually this come to fruition. So we have no executive session this evening. At this point, we'll open up the phone lines or open up for any type of public comment. Is anyone out there, if you'd identify yourself, if you'd like to ask questions of council?
Hearing none?
Going once? Going twice?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, I have a question. My name is David Chrisman. I live in the Spring Lake condominiums.
Yes, Mr.
It was
Chrisman.
brought to my attention just through another person, actually. I was curious. They were saying that there's this farm on the left side of Stein Road is going to be turned into low-income housing. I was wondering if you could tell me anything about that.
That would be in the township itself. There's been a lot of speculation on that farmland for many years as it's
Right.
switched lands or switched through, I think it's family owned, and the plans they have for that. If anybody on council has any more information, I would welcome it, but at this point, I think it's purely speculation. Now, one thing about that, it does run across the floodplain, so I think there are limitations on what they can do with that, but again, that's kind of outside the village's periphery,
Okay.
and we really don't have much impact on what would happen out there.
So I would need to like contact somebody in just more Clark County in general.
Mad River Township.
Right, Mad River Township, we just
Trustees.
discussed on from the trustees meetings that's on
Monday nights, every other Monday.
First and third Monday.
Right.
Monday, Mad River Trustees. Okay. Well, thank you for hearing me. I appreciate that.
Well, we thank you for your questions.
Thank you.
Anyone else? With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
If you'll call the roll, Mr. Seibert?
Mr. Hannah,
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker,
Yes.
Mrs. Fogel,
Yes.
Mr. Bear,
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet,
Yes.
Mr. Babcock.
Yes.
7:48.
Okay, with that, we continue to wish y'all good health, and thoughts or prayers are going out to our people who are in need and under the weather. So